This conference will now be recorded.
Understand
This
what is
conference will now be recorded.
a very little basic knowledge about Salesforce, a kind of introduction, I would say. Yeah. And before we start, so let me introduce myself. Yeah, so I started my career in 2010, and basically in Salesforce itself. So as a fresher, I've started working on Salesforce, and it's been more than 11 and a half years. I'm working in Salesforce, worked with multiple clouds of Salesforce like sales, service, marketing, CPQ, and coming to the development, worked in integrations, Lightning Web Components, Lightning Aura Components, even in Einstein, multiple other areas. And what am I doing now? I'm an architect leading a team of 38 different people working for different Salesforce orgs. Like, I'll show you what is that org feature. So I'm handling four different orgs in my company. um, And coming to certifications, I have around 17, not sure, 17 or 18 Salesforce certification, which includes both application and system architect. Actually, I'm a domain architect now. Yeah, that's all about me. And the last one, with not the least, training. Coming to the trainings, I started training people from past 7 or 8 years, not more than that, but I train more than or close to 2,000 people by now. Especially, I do train people online and offline as well. Yeah. So that's all about me. So I will start the introduction session. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So what are we going to discuss now? So industrial revolution. I'm going to discuss what is industrial revolution, which more or less everyone is aware of it. Just one small slide, and then we'll see what is a software application, and we'll start with legacy technologies, and then we'll compare that with cloud computing. And in cloud, we'll see what is Salesforce and why Salesforce is important when you compare with either the legacy technologies or even the other technologies in the market. And then we'll discuss about the job opportunities, course content, and we'll wrap up. Okay. Any questions till now? Anyone? Or if you have any other questions, you can stop me at any point and you can start asking the question. Don't wait till the end of the session. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and feel free to stop me. Okay. First slide. We just. Okay, I'll hide this. So the first slide speaks about industrial revolution. Why it is very important? Because mostly, I mean, most of the people sitting in the session are aware of it. So the first industrial revolution is steam. It started around 1760s, I mean late 1700s, and then electricity. It started around early 1800s, and then computing. And today we are in intelligence, which is nothing but artificial intelligence, where devices started responding to us. Till 1900s, sorry, till 2000s, what happened is like system will yes respond to us, but you have to give a right command, right? But basically unless until you operate the system with your hand, it won't be able to understand what it is. But these days I can directly speak with my devices, whether it might be a phone or an Alexa, or based on my voice or based on my body temperature, I can control my entire house, uh, basically about the entire power in my in my house, right? And there are technologies where you can drive your car without even holding your steering, right? So and this Salesforce is playing a major role these days, especially coming to the business. It's not a product which will be sold to the customers most of the times. So they do have business to customers, direct customers as well. But most of the times, Salesforce is used for B2C, sorry, B2B solutions. Okay. Now, when I speak about an application, what comes to your mind? A software application, or why do I need a software application? So before I start, or even in the early days of my career, I used to think that, oh yeah, software application is nothing but something which can make my job easier, right? Let's say earlier in my the first organization that I have joined, let's say if I want to take a leave, or take a leave for 2 days or 3 days, it is like I have to go to my manager, because that's a very smaller organization where I work. So there more or less it's a manual approvals. Like I have to talk to my manager, ask them that, hey, Rajesh, I'm going on leave or something, and if he is not available, I have to wait for him and then take an approval and then take a leave. But these days the organize I mean, even we got a lot of applications, and the organizations that I'm working on, if I want a leave, I'll just have to go to a tool in the system, apply for a leave, and it will be approved. by the manager based on the need, right? So what happens from there, from past 1 decade? Earlier it was manual, but now it is automated, right? The manager don't have to speak with me. Either he can simply approve it or reject it, especially during this pandemic world. So now I would say, yep, software application making my life more easier when you compare with 1 decade, prior 1 decade, right? But now, when I speak with the organization or a company which built this application, a leave management system kind of application, they'll say, Ram, yes, whatever you said is correct, but for us, the definition is a little different. It's not making our life easier, rather than it is generating revenue for my organization because people started using it. The more number of people started using it, the more revenue it is generating for me. So this is the other side of the coin, right? So which means, based on the need that is there in the market, this XYZ application, company built a leave management system application and started giving demos to multiple organizations. One or the other two organizations loved it, and they started using it, right? So, which means it has two advantages. One, for the business, it is making my life easier. The other one, for the developer, it is generating some revenue, right? Now, okay, it generates revenue, which is a little interesting part, right? Because to make your life easy, you don't have multiple applications, but how does it generate some revenue for me? Because I have to build an application. How do I build an application? I can't simply go blindly to the system, type something so that something will build up, right? So first of all, I have to have a target or a dream to achieve what, right? That is where I'll have some idea, right? The moment I get an idea, I can start building my application. But if you again go back maybe a decade or two, uh, there, when you are building an application, basically you need the entire setup, right? You have to buy the hardware, basically a server, and install some application in your laptop for Java, or whether it might be Oracle or for SAP. So you have to decide the technology, and you have to install that, set up the access, reporting, securities, everything, and then you start building your application, right? That is what a legacy platform does, right? Like your older technologies. So I'm not criticizing it, but this is how it works earlier, right? And the lifespan of building this application, yep, easily it goes to 12 months, because this setup itself will go to 6 to 7 months. And this is where people are used to generate a lot of revenue itself. I mean, especially about this hardware people and all. Why they are generating a lot of revenue, Ram? Because it is one time setup, na? It's not a one time setup. Because when I had this idea, so I'll think that okay, maybe 100 people might use this application. Then I built an app. I mean, I want to build an application, so I bought a server. When I speak about server has two types of capacities. One is data capacity, which can be managed easily. Generally, server comes with more than 10 terabytes and 20 terabytes. So as you are saving, more or less, you'll save records itself, which is it won't have more than 5 KB, 10 KB, unless until it has video files or audio files. So let's consider a simple request. So it will easily handle. But the issue is with user capacity. Because when I buy a server, they'll say that Ram, this server capacity is 100 or this server capacity is 200. What does it mean? Which means that at that particular point of time, at any particular point of time, a server can handle a maximum of 200 users. That's it. So let's say I bought a server with just having 200 user capacity, started, completed the entire setup, build the application. Now I have hosted it to my end users. So initially it was going good. People started liking it because this is something, some unique application in the market. It's not available anywhere, and it has a high need or a high demand in the market. So gradually I got more popularity in the market, and everyone saying that, hey Ram, we like your application, we want to use it. So even I'm happy because I'm getting a good revenue. But slowly the number of people who wants to use my application started growing from maybe some 50 to 600 or 700. Initially I started facing too many troubles because my capacity is 200, user base is 600. How do I change it? Because if I'm not changing the server, or if I'm not doing some modification over here on my server, then at a time 600 requests are coming and hitting this server, and it is responding only for 200, that to randomly. So there will be a time where my server might crash, or even my application might crash, so even my database also will crash. So to take a a precaution, what I did is, or what I have to do is, I have to increase the capacity of my server. So either it might be serialization or replacing with bigger server or whatever. So I replaced with heavier server which can handle 1000. Now again, with the market, even my user base also grown to 2000, 3000. Again, I have to keep changing my service. Now after few years, everything will have a saturation, and definitely in the market you'll have a competition, right? So I got Sai in the market, who built an application with better features, better user interface. Much things are much more better than me. So what will happen? My user base will become slowly become Sai's user base, because the need is same, but they have a lot of advantages over there, right? Now the number of users using my application will gradually decrease. Okay, let it decrease. What is the problem? Problem is not with the performance of the application, but the problem is with my investment. I have invested a lot, right? So I will have an expectation that, okay, with this I will calculate some ROI, return of investment. I'll think that, okay, this I'll be returning it. But here it's not just one time also, right? When I have a bigger server, I need to provide ACs and all, so that the server won't get a high temperature. And to set up all this, I need a big space. I need people to maintain this. All these things has to be taken care. So which means a regular investments. So regular investments are increasing, and I'm getting uh, the revenue as less as possible every day. So I'm falling into a crisis, right? So this is one of the disadvantages that you are going with standalone applications using your legacy platforms. Standalone application is nothing but setting up your own infrastructure at your organization itself. Okay, this is the biggest problem that more or less every organization used to face. So to avoid this, we have something called cloud computing. So on-premise is nothing but the standalone. Like I have to build my own networking, storage, servers, virtualization, operating systems, everything. Now, when it comes to cloud, so as everyone are aware, we have three different services in cloud: infrastructure, platform, and software. So when it comes to infrastructure as a service, I would say Amazon Web Services is the best example. So here, so okay, before we start, like what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is nothing but it's so it's a platform where there'll be a service provider sitting on the other side, and they'll ask you like, hey, if you want to build an application, you don't worry, I will provide you the infrastructure, you start building your application in their server. Okay, so that is where your cloud computing comes into picture. Okay, then here the first one is infrastructure as a service. In infrastructure as a service, what happens is, it is like halfway. Service provider says, hey, I can give you a maximum of storage, server, I'll provide the virtualization and networking, but rest all you have to maintain. You have to install your own operating system or your own software to integrate with external system, that is middleware. And then runtime data has to be maintained by you. You have to define your own application. That is, this is where your Amazon Web Services comes into picture, right? So yeah, this is good, because the biggest problem that I have is maintaining the server. It's gone. Now again, so here also they'll face the same problem, right? Like let us say today I'll say I have 100 users, tomorrow I'll come up with 200, or the other day I'll come with 1000. So Ram, how did this avoid it? So the cloud computing, the servers of this cloud computing, they'll have a huge user base already. Okay, and they will share the application using an instances. Like they'll create the applications in the cloud, and those instances will be shared to the users. Like instance is nothing but a mirror of your application. Now let's say if the number of users increases, then it won't basically allow any of the users to access the application directly or to access the server directly. It allows people to access the instance rather than the application. So in the instance, like basically your image instance, so let's say if the number of users increases drastically, if something happens, your instance will crash, but nothing happens to your server or nothing happens to even your application, right? But of course that will also be taken care by creating number of instances based on the number of users that are using it. Okay. So again, that is not our headache. That is why we are paying for them. This service provider, they will be taking care of. Okay. Post that you will have platform as a service where they'll give you one level up. They'll say that, hey, I'm setting up the entire platform. You start building your application. That's it. Nothing else. This is where most of the applications in the market are built up. Okay. But here the problem is again you have to build your own application. Even Salesforce has a footprint over here. Salesforce is using a platform called force.com platform where we can build our own application. Okay, right from scratch as well. So they'll give you everything, but apart from the application you can build your application. Most of the applications built in Salesforce earlier was on this platform as a service. Even now also too many applications are there. If you compare with any other cloud in Salesforce, the applications built on the platform are more when you compare with any other cloud. The last one is software as a service. This is where Salesforce takes a major share in the market. Why? Because along with the platform, along with all the other infrastructures, they'll say, "Hey, I'm giving you a standard applications also. You can start building your application. You can start using it." Okay, what do you mean by this, Ram? So, for example, let's say I want to buy a laptop. Okay, so these days, if I open YouTube, because that is one place where we'll search, okay, which kind of laptop you have to buy and all, right? Or to see what is the good what is the product which is upcoming in the market, all these things. So even I want to buy a laptop over here. It's like the person said, I mean, I have seen a lot of videos which says, hey, first of all, you have to decide what is your purpose. Is it for office or is it for gaming or you do any photoshops, all these things. So based on my requirement, I have to go to that specific brand or maybe a specific laptops, right? So I know what is my requirement. Why can't I go to a laptop engineer, ask him to build it everything from scratch? We can, but there is no guarantee on it, right? That is where we'll go with the brands, right? Or a company based organizations, right? After, let us say I bought so I felt like, okay, so basically I bought a ThinkPad laptop, so things are good. So I have one issue with my hard disk. Issue is like the space that they have given me is just 250 GB. I want to extend it. So I'll go to the company store and then I'll customize it. I'll say that, hey, if everything is very good, but 250 GB is not at all sufficient for me, even if it is SSD. Do you have something with 1 TB? So they have installed it. I started using it, which means that in the market, if you want to buy a product, you can directly go for inbuilt solutions, right? And if you want to customize, we can customize. That is where Salesforce came into picture. So generally, whenever a business has a problem, they they won't ask people to build it from scratch because it saves so it takes a lot of time. To avoid that, what business is looking most of these days is, do we have anything which is already defined in the market, and is it allows us does it allows us to customize? Okay, this is one of the biggest opportunity, or actually the challenge earlier, but Salesforce made it as an opportunity by creating some market standard applications for sales, service, all this. Okay, now, yep, these are a couple of examples for different clouds we have in the previous example. And by the way, the go to meeting, it comes as infrastructure as a sorry. Where is it? Yep, sorry, software as a service. I'm sorry. So what is a software as a service? Basically, it someone has defined the software and they are providing you as a service through internet. Okay. Now, so as I said earlier, Salesforce has given you a inbuilt applications. By default, you will be getting some application. Using that, Salesforce has something called Customer 360. Why? Because, for example, Raj is a person who has a business where he will buy some raw materials, build the product, and then sell it off in the market. Post selling it, he has to provide the support also. So here, if you see this overall picture, so I have too many things, right? First of all, I need to buy the raw material. During that time, I need to see what all the products that are available in the market, right? And then once I bought them, I have to capture somewhere saying that this is my investment. Post that, I have to market my product. Post building my product, I have to market it in the market, maybe which is nothing but advertisements. After doing an advertisement, I have to sell it off in the market, and then once the product is sold, I have to provide support, right? So if you bring this to Salesforce, so to capture all these things, we have multiple tables in the system, and at the same time, Salesforce has given some of the applications like for marketing, we have Marketing Cloud, and then for sales, we have a sales process. And let us say if you want to build your own website like Amazon, we have Commerce Cloud, and then to support your application, we have an app. Sorry, support your product. We have something called Service Cloud, which tells you like what all the problems the customers are facing. How do we resolve it? And to see to analyze the profit or loss, all the entire reportings, we have analytics. And let us say when you are buying the things, let's say if you want to see the exchange rates, let's say my organization is there multiple countries in the world, then I have to compare the currencies, right? I want to change the currencies and also. So during that time, if I want to integrate with an external systems, then one this is one of the common problems that most of the technology is facing, because technology is new, things are good, but the problem is we already have too many technologies which are inbuilt in the market, and they are there from 3 4 decades. For example, if you take SAP, one of the best example I would say in the software is SAP, because that is being used by multiple organizations as their central database. Now, whatever the new app that you are building, they'll say that okay, this is fine, but we have invested too much on SAP already. With this, I can't uh, decommission that SAP server. So, is there any way that your application, I will use your application because things are very good. My business is moving fast, but I want your system to communicate with SAP real time. That is where your integration comes into picture, right? So, this is one of the common problems that every new technology in the market is facing now. That is where you have something called MuleSoft, which is a powerful integration tool which was bought by Salesforce around last year, if I'm not wrong. So, which helps you to integrate with any technology in the available in the industries. And Salesforce is being used in multiple industries. Like for example, it's being used in Amex, it's being used in city groups. When you speak about the banking sector, oil and gas, yep, it is used in British Petroleum, it is used in Shell, Total. And when you come to what do you call other organizations like educational industries, it's being used in Stanford, one of the biggest or oldest industry in the market. And it is being used in financial broking sectors, example Citigroup. And it's all about the bigger organizations. So is there any way Salesforce supports smaller industries as well? Yes, for example, Redbus, which is one of the smallest application in India, which is developed by only two people, right? It's using Salesforce. Your Paytm is using Salesforce. The back end of your Paytm is Salesforce itself. And there are very smaller organizations whose annual turnover is 10 lakhs is also using Salesforce in the as of now, which may because Salesforce has wide variety of user licenses, which starts from $2.7 per user per month to $400 per user per month as well. So in between, you have a lot of varieties. So based on the requirement, I can pick that particular license and then I can use it. And these are the different platforms that we have in Salesforce. It is used for mobile. It is these days they are working on blockchain science and analytics, and you can connect with your Apple as well for the voice controls, and it has very good securities. And the security model in Salesforce is very cleanly defined, I would say. And even if I have the credentials, for example, from past 3 4 years, even if I have your social networking website credentials, maybe Gmails or Facebooks, I won't be able to log into your system automatically, right? You will set up that OAuth or authentication where it will ask for an OTP, right? So that has been taken care by Salesforce very long back, prior 2007. So even if I have your credentials, I won't be able to access the system itself, right? And it has a lot of things called too many automations can be done using configuration itself using flows. Okay, any questions till now, anyone? Okay, so we are halfway through. Yeah, next one is okay. So these things are fine, but how does it support multiple organizations? Let's say for example, if Capgemini and IBM wants to use Salesforce, how does it support? So Salesforce follows a multi-tenant architecture. Okay, that is the way it is designed as a multi-tenant architecture. So I'll compare with sorry, a community. So what is this? In the community, what you'll have, for example, I have a flat in my apartment. So a few things that I can share with my neighbors, that is power, water, some maintenance, like maybe swimming pool or a football court or a joggers park, all these things, right? So I have to pay a maintenance fee of maybe $1,000 or $5,000 based on the community that I'm residing, right? Now, for example, let's say one of my friend, Mr. Deepak, he bought his own house. Okay, he's not staying in a community. He bought an individual house. Now, his kids asked him, "Dad, I need a swimming pool." So he is luxury enough to build a swimming pool at his home. So he built it. So it generally takes around, maybe if you ask me in the Indian currency, it will easily take around minimum of maybe 10 to 15 lakhs based on the setup that he wants. Similarly, let's say if he wants a full football court, first of all, you have to buy a land. It's a huge investment, right? So of course, it's a one-time investment, but he might have to invest somewhere around 1 crore to 2 crores, right? But here, Ram, who is staying in an apartment, he can share the things with everyone, right? But when I'm staying in an apartment, I have my own limits, right? As I'm having this flat in this apartment, I can't sit in the pool 24 by 7 asking no one to come inside, or I can't allow others who are roaming on the roads to start using my football court, right? I'll have my own limitations, right? That is where, even in Salesforce, to make sure you are not overriding other orgs, it will have some limits which are called as governor limits, and it is there for each and every feature that we have in the system. Okay, so when we start the course, I'll discuss about the governor limits for every concept that we are discussing about. Okay, then, yep, now it's pretty easy. The moment I get an idea, so I'll buy the license, build the
Hello.
application, and yeah,
Hello, sir. Sir, I want to know what are the prerequisites for this Salesforce because I'm not from a coding background. I'm from mechanical
zero,
engineer. I want to know. Okay,
nothing required.
thank
Nothing
you.
is required for admin, at least when you start development.
Hmm.
I'll discuss more about it when I start the course content discussion. Okay,
Sure, sir.
so
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
yeah. So the moment I get an idea, now it's pretty easy. I don't have to compare, I mean, build the infrastructure. I get the license, infrastructure is already there on the Salesforce license, and I can build the application. The best part of Salesforce is, along with the security, using point and clicks, it helps me to build the application which can be accessed by any device in the market. Either it might be a tab or a desktop or mobile. That too, just using some point and clicks. You do have to do small configurations. You don't have to code anything. Okay. So yeah, so this is something which I'll compare with the legacy applications. So if you want to build an application on legacy platform, you have to, sorry, you have to go back to the first slide where you spend around 12 months to set up the infrastructure and all, because most of your time goes with this only. But when you come to Salesforce, you can spend a lot of your time on building an application, which is ideally takes around a month or two most of the times, and this can be done easily in Salesforce. And of course, we do have applications which are running from more than 2 years or 3 years, because business needs continuous enhancements. If they need continuous enhancements, then you have to continuously build it. So that is where you'll see applications which are building year by year. That is where, for example, let us say City, they won't say that application can be done just in week or days, right? Why? Because too many customers are there, and they have too much of competition. One or the other day they have to launch new features. So that is where they'll go with yearly based applications. Okay. And the best part of Salesforce is, for example, let us say in Java you will have versions, right? So let us say I built an application on 2.1, maybe around it is there around some 10 years back or maybe 6 years back. But now when you come to say when you start using the same application on the current version, it won't support, right? You have to add all those plugins. But in Salesforce you don't have to worry about it. So every year Salesforce will have three different releases: summer, winter, and spring. Every release they'll launch new features, and you don't have to install a single software in the system. Because if you see in all my discussions, I didn't spoke about installing a software. It's a browser based application. So which will be controlled directly by Salesforce, and it will be installed automatically. You know, it won't even say, hey, I'm installing some updates, you please inform your business not to use the system for 2 days. No, nothing like that. Everything will be taken care by Salesforce servers at the back end. You don't have to worry about, oh, will I have a maintenance period? No, most of the times not. Okay. And what they'll build in this three releases, Ram, like continuous improvements are fine. How do they do it? There is something called Salesforce ideas, where the developers will post, hey, I need so Salesforce is doing good in this. For example, some approval process, I have some issues in the approval process, and I'll search for that in the community. I don't get the answers, then I can log it as an idea. And if maybe the other organizations in the market has also facing the same problems, they'll also log the ideas. Or if the idea is already there, they'll start voting this. And if this goes to a good number, then Salesforce will pick it up, because this is the need in the market and it improves their tool. They'll start building that and they'll release it along with the other new features that they are releasing in the market. So this is how they'll improve the products. It's a continuous improvement from their end. And then using that feature, I will build the application for my customer, and my customer will be using it. Right. So this is how the auto updates will be taken care. Slide is not required actually. Okay, he is the Mr. Mark Benioff. So he okay. So in the fourth industrial revolution, something which is very important is trust, because as it is in cloud, my customer says, "Hey Ram, how secure is your application?" Salesforce is highly secure. You can go back. Salesforce started somewhere around 1999. So till date, there is no data breach. That is one of the important thing, or which is taken into consideration most all the time, not just most of the times. So that is where you don't have a single data breach till today. Okay. And everyone is using Play Store and App Stores, right? In your mobiles, you are using smart mobiles these days, correct? So actually, what is this? It's a marketplace where I can install my application, some existing application. For example, if I want to speak with all my friends, I'll install WhatsApp and start communicating with everyone. So I'm a mobile developer, for example. Let us say I have a very good experience in the market, in the mobile industry. So why can't I build my own application, a chat application, and ask my friends to start using it? I can, but it takes time. So what is the advantage in using WhatsApp? It saves a lot of time, correct? I don't have to build the application. It might take 6 months, and I'm not sure whether it will, when it is only for me or for others. So that is where I'll go with the ready-made applications. And you know what? This app store is the domain which is owned by Mr. Mark Benioff, and he gifted to Steve Jobs as he is his friend. You can go back, pause the session, see the news behind App Store and Mark Benioff. He gifted this to Salesforce, and that is where this App Store came in. And then Google also started their Play Store, where you can build the application based on the requirements in the market, upload it in the Play Stores or App Stores, and people, if people likes it, they'll start using it. Right. The same funda after giving App Store, because he also needs some word, right? So he started with a word called App Exchange. In Salesforce, we have something called App Exchange. So looking at the market needs, I can build some applications and post this in App Exchange, and people like it, they'll use it. Again, it is the more number of people are using it, the more revenue it generates. Now, one small difference between your App Store, Play Store, or App Exchange is, if I want to upload my application after building it in the App Store, no one will verify, right? But in Salesforce, there is a team called App Exchange team where they'll verify your application right from scratch for into the user interface, security, business case, everything. Once it is approved, then only they'll upload this in the market. And then, as it is business, here most of the applications may not be free. You can start using it based on the requirement. These are the existing highly used applications in the market, and as of now, we have actually this slide is little older, but I think around a year old. So that is the reason the numbers are wrong. Actually, if you see, the numbers are very good, but as the slide looks much better, uh, I'm using the same slide. So the numbers are pretty much different actually. But by looking at this, what I would say is, I don't have to work for an organization if I have a good idea. If I build the application, I can build an organization. Okay, that is also possible in Salesforce. There are some organizations in India where a couple of my friends are working. They don't have anything apart from one or two app exchange products, but they're happily running the organization from past 3 4 years by paying the salaries to 30 40 members because of the client they have, just for one or two applications. Just then imagine imagine the power of the app exchange products. It's been widely used in the system. Okay, this is about the economy. This is not required. Yep. So it started in 2000, 1999, and if you see, these are the acquisitions that Salesforce had, and actually, it's there till 2016. I tried to get a new one. So if you see the new thing, you might have seen a lot of other companies like Quip, Tableau. It acquired MuleSoft. It recently acquired Steelbricks for CPQ. Yep, Steelbrick is already there. It has. It tried to acquire Abstus, but it acquired Velocity as well recently. So a lot of things are there, and these are all the partners. Like if you see, all major yeah, bigger companies in the world are the partners of Salesforce. What partners will do is, they'll get the license, build the application, give it to the end users. Okay, and if you see here again, this is little older slide. So as of now, it just says 20, but 21, it is already a $19 billion company. This is one news that I think Oracle, in one of the Oracle summits, I've seen. So if you see here, the target of Salesforce by 2024 to 2025 is $35 billion company. As of now, it is already $19 billion company. Okay, this is fine. But Ram, why do I need this? One thing that we should always keep in mind in IT is, one or the other day the technology will saturate, and you have to run behind the new technologies. Right? But Salesforce, if you see, it's not. There is no downs till now, at least. Right now, it says that with the current estimations, and by the way, Salesforce never failed in estimations as well. Okay, uh, Why? Because it is not just going vertically, it is growing horizontally. It is occupying multiple industries, right? Especially after buying this velocity CPQ. So if the technology that I'm working is growing, then definitely even I'll also have a good, which means a very good market share on the developers of who are working in Salesforce as well. So that's the only reason I'm showing this slide to you. Okay. Then coming to course content, someone asked, okay, Ram, what I need to learn or what I needed. So here, let's open this Excel. So in Salesforce, basically here we'll learn two things. One is admin. You'll get the clear course content from the consultancy later. Then you'll have development. So in the admin, we'll start. So the definition of admin in Salesforce is quite different when you compare with the same definition in any other technologies. So other technologies, if I say admin, then they'll say, okay, this is more of security. But in Salesforce, an admin is the person who can build the application, build the tables, write the automation rules, of course, provide the security as well, using point and clicks. He don't have to have any knowledge on the coding. If he knows the functionality of the application and if he knows the features of Salesforce, then he can simply build the application. That's it. Easy. Using just point. These are all configurations. Like how the way you create an Excel, table in Excel. So same way you can build an application in Salesforce also. By the way, what is an Excel? Excel is the place where you'll have rows and columns. You can start storing your data. So is there any disadvantage in Excel? Because Excel is one of the powerful tool. I would say the best tool that I have ever seen in IT. Why? Because I can capture data, I can run my reports, I can write the VLOOKUPs, multiple things. I can process my data as well. But the problem in Excel is I cannot write validations or I cannot provide any security. Let's say I have few rows which I don't want to show it to my other employees. But if when I share, the moment I share this Excel sheet, he will be able to see everything. If I don't want that, that cannot be done, right? And I can't write any automations like when the number meets at this, but when the value meets this, maybe 1 crore, I want to send an email to a particular customer. That cannot be done. Automations cannot be done. Now if Microsoft thinks that, okay, yep, as people are saying this is one of the powerful tool, let's upgrade it to a place where it becomes more easier or for the end user to start using Excel itself. Then maybe after 10 years, then the only tool that they'll come up with is Salesforce, because I would say Salesforce is a power packed Excel. We'll compare Salesforce with Excel tomorrow anyways. So it has security in it. It has again rows and columns. You'll have tables, and it has automations. So using the Salesforce, you can write automation rules which will process your data as well, which will inform the business on time at a particular frequency based on the requirement. Okay. Now all those things can be done easily in admin without learning a single other language. Okay. But as it is using configurations, so it has some limits. It will say that, hey, you are using config now. So these are the standards that you have to follow. Now, but when you go to the business says this is fine, but I want some different UI. That is where I'll go with development. So to overcome all the cons of your admin, we'll go with the development feature. So in the development, you have to have prerequisite knowledge, but that too very basics. If you know what is HTML, what is JavaScript, what is oops concepts in Java, that is more and more than enough for development to learn. Going forward, you'll get to know because Salesforce has its own languages. So, anyways, you have to learn them from scratch. So, during that time, you'll get used to it. But prior to that, you should know like what is the structure, like how does a form generates, or what is a function in JavaScript. How do I add two values, how do I call one function from another function, what is object oriented programming, what do you mean by an apex class, what is an object in it, how do I call one method from another method. Very basics. If not, anyways, I'll in the development introduction I'll speak about those things. And in the development we'll discuss about apex classes, vf sorry, not vf pages. Now we will discuss only about the lightning, because vf is one of the classic features, which is oldest one from past 6 7 years. Salesforce is not suggesting anyone to use classic. We are going with lightning itself. There is nothing in the market which is built on classic anyways these days. So we'll go with all lightning products. So we'll see what is an automation rule, how do we define the custom user interfaces, what are the different features that we have in building the custom UIs, like in components, aura components, web components, and how do we communicate from one Salesforce to other technologies, uh, from one or to another, through integrations. All these things we'll see in the development. Okay. So this is all about the course content. Now it is up to you whether you want to join the course, or not. I won't say instead of joining the course. So I would say whether you want to pick Salesforce. If I'm picking Salesforce, then what should I learn, development or admin? If I want to learn development, admin is prerequisite. Why? Because as I mentioned, development is nothing but it is so in development we'll take all the cons of admin and then we'll improvise, which means I should know what are the pros and cons of admin, then only I can go with the development, right? So whether to take only admin or admin plus development, that is up to you. Okay, so that's all from my end. Anyone has any questions? Let me go, Mike. Yep, any questions, anyone? I'll stop sharing. You can message me if you have any questions.
Yeah, hi Ram. Good morning. This side Madhu.
Hi, Madhu.
Hello. Yeah, Ram, I'm
Yep, go
audible
on.
to you.
Yep, yep.
Yes, Ram. So the content, what it was shared by the organizer, actually I received documents about the content related, like what are the topics and all covered by these in this school. So is it really
Okay.
you people are covering this all topics?
Yes, of course.
So each and every individual topics will be covered by you, right?
Yep. Okay. By the way, the way. Okay. One last point, which is very very important from my end actually. So we
Mm-hmm.
won't be doing any project after. That is one expectation, but most of you will have like, Ram, can I get a project at the end? Because one open fact is, like, you will go with some experience, right? You'll say that I have at least 1 year 2 years of experience. For that you need to know, right? So I won't give you any project at the end of the sessions. I will make it clear. But right from day one, we will discuss about a project. So instead of running the show like any other things that are there in the market, what the way or the style I follow is, I won't start Salesforce directly. I'll just give you a UI first, like how does it work for an end user, maybe tomorrow session. Post that, what I'll do is I'll open an Excel sheet. We'll bring some problem in the market, maybe something related to maybe it's consultancy, or maybe a real estate or a financial working sector or an automobile industry, any random thing. Okay, and we'll capture the needs and we'll start building a simple Excel sheet. Because when you start, or if you go to an organization, I hope most of you are experienced as well. So generally what when you're building an application, what you'll do is first you'll interact with that business. Maybe you'll conduct a workshop before we start building it. First of all, we need to understand what is their process, what they do in this in their organization, sorry, in their business. And then based on that, will list down all the pros and cons of that existing application, and then they'll say that, if let's say if Madhu is my customer, I'll say, Madhu, these are the things that we can do in Salesforce, which is already there, but there are some features which is not there in your existing process. I can improvise them in Salesforce using multiple other features. And then you'll start building the application, which means that first of all I need to have a target on what I'm looking for, right? We'll set up the same thing. But as we are going with the sessions, as we don't have much time, what I'll do is, we don't have 2 weeks 3 weeks workshop. Instead, in one day, we'll simply discuss about what that company does, what they need, and based on that we'll build a very small Excel table, and then we'll see how do we convert this table into Salesforce using all the features. Okay, which means if I'm speaking about an object structure, then I'll speak about, okay, this is the table that they have in, say, in the existing system. Now we need to convert this to Salesforce. How do we do it? What is the basic thing to create an application, and how do we define the tables in Salesforce, and how do we connect the multiple tables? We'll discuss about relations and we'll apply this. We'll discuss about some automation rule, we'll apply that rule in this application, so that by end of our session you will have a full-fledged application in your own Salesforce org itself. You don't have to ask me, Ram, give me the documentation, because you already built it. Why do you need document? Because you need to read something which you don't know, but by the end of the session you know clearly what you are built, what you have built already. So that makes you clear thing. That's what I believe. But of course, if you need anything, anyways, the regular documentations and all will be provided in the videos. And all. Yeah. Yeah. Now you can go on now, Madhu.
So it means there is no real-time project at the end of the training or the course.
Instead of saying no real-time project at the end of the course, I would say real-time project comes from day one of the course.
It means like we're just learning on the topics only, right? On sections, some daily sections. But once we complete the course, it is better to uh, work on any real-time projects.
By the end of the course, you will have a project. I'm saying that you will have a project in your hand, right? I mean, of course, if you
Yes.
want if you want me to discuss an application, just provide your document to you and say that this is the requirement that the business has given me. In this requirement, you create the object. See, on the day one we have created an object, right? Apply that concept here. Or day three we have created a workflow rule. Apply this here. When I can tell that also, I'm okay with that also. Instead, you can, I mean, because after that 2 or 3 within 2 or 3 days, definitely I can challenge anyone. You cannot build a bigger application in 2 or 3 days, right? So instead,
That was really
each and
great,
every
Ram.
feature
Yes.
will be discussed right from basics itself, and we'll see what all the use cases. And I won't bring something which is at very high level in the market. Instead, we'll discuss a simple application where you see that in your day-to-day life. For example, a banking sector. So let's say uh, when I'm doing a transactions, I need to get a notification, right? How Salesforce, sorry, we'll see how Salesforce will send those notifications in that. Let's say if we are building a banking sector, we'll see how this Salesforce is taking this. Or let us say my salary is maybe 10,000 per month. Now I want a loan in the bank will ask me, okay, Ram, give me your pay slips. So I'll give the pay slips which will generate it for 10 month, 10,000 a month. Now they'll say, okay, with the current market, say, Ram, I can give you a maximum of maybe 2 lakhs loan. That's it. Why? Because your loan is, I mean, your income is very less, right? Now, how this loan, how they are defining this, at what level, who is judging it? How do we do this approval process? Unless until this gets approved by multiple people, because if I'm asking your pay slips, by looking at your pay slip I can't judge whether this is right one or not, right? I'll give it to my verification team, where they'll go and check whether your bank the statements are correct or not, because they have their own channels. Similarly, I'll see the company name and I'll ask my other team to go and check whether Rahul is really working in that organization or not, and I'll see whether the pay slips are genuine. and whether I'll see whether your documents, your house address, all these things are genuine. After verification or verifying all these things, then I'll speak about your limiter, right? So how this process goes in, how do we build this process in Salesforce? So all these things we'll see. So which means that we are bringing a real time and we are trying to apply it in the system itself with the features of Salesforce. So what is the advantage in doing this now? We have multiple features, but if we don't know which feature has to be used for what solution, then there is no point in learning, because that's what happens generally in the market. But that is what I have seen, especially when I'm taking interviews in my organization. So people will say that I'll just simply post a requirement to the person in the call, then they'll come up with solutions, because like any other technology, even in Salesforce also, for one problem they'll have minimum three solutions easily. So I need a person who can pick the right best one in the among three. So I can guarantee you by end of the session you will be that person. Okay.
Yeah, Ram, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? And the last one is certifications, of course. So as I similar to project, I won't take the session separately for certifications and all. Instead, during the feature discussion itself, I'll discuss about what kind of certification questions you will be getting on that, and I will keep on revising the questions also every day based on the requirement. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, then. So that's all I have. So provide your feedback to the consultancy if you have time, and then let's see how it works from the next section. Okay. Job openings, Jayashree. Uh, so yeah, a market this year I have seen people who are having. There are lot many openings for the market in Salesforce when you compare with any other technology. Even the salary range is also very high. For example, one of my friend's cousin got hired in Salesforce very recently. uh, this is again a very optimistic case. So he has around 6 years of experience and he got a package of 65 lakhs in India. But I won't say this is where the range is in India, but yeah, more or less compare with any other technology, the salary structure of Salesforce, the pay scale of Salesforce is always high in the market, as usual. And the other one is, due to COVID last year, too many projects got on hold and everything got released this year. So this year you have too many openings in Salesforce. So that is where most of the people started learning Salesforce actually. Okay. Yeah, that's all I have. Thanks for your time, everyone. Let's connect on Monday. Bye, everyone.